few. You're saying, I'm going to die with or without a lung care. Yup. I would simply save my money and invest in what I'm fixing to tell you about, eternal health care, and it's free of charge. What do you think? You want to go good money after bad, go ahead. Education is useless without the Bible. Noah Webster, the father of public education in the United States of America. It's useless without the Bible. Hey, Freed Hardeman, here's a news flash. You say, Phil? We teach about it here. You are doing exactly what the founding fathers said you ought to do. Give your children an education, but it won't be any good to you without the Bible with it. That's what your founding father said, and I commend everybody at this university for holding to that. We need more of it. But as you know, Freed Hardeman, I can make it quick, I guess. The Nazis came, the Shintoists came about the same time. They'd be the Japanese Shintoists. Then the communists came, then the Muslims came, and then that last group came. But those first four, we want to conquer the world. That's what Adolf Hitler said. They were famous for murder, showed no pity. Adolf Hitler told all of his troops every time he met with them, show no pity, act brutally. And did they ever? In a word, what was Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, in a word, what were they famous for, Tennessee? Murder. The Shintoists came. You remember them? We've never done anything to those people. We've never bothered them. They started at Pearl Harbor, killed almost 3,000 people. Their troops. The man I'm named after took about 3 steps on the island of Iwo Jima, right out of a landing craft, Field Shores, my uncle, 17 years old. Joined the Marine Corps boot camp, took 3 or 4 steps off a landing craft, fell in the sand. We lost a lot of good men fighting the Germans and the Shintoists. Both the Shintoists and the Nazis wanted to conquer this world. The Japanese called Hirohito their emperor. They thought he was God. And the Nazis looked toward Adolf Hitler. He was their God. They all, to the person, both those, rejected Jesus. Not one of them believed in Jesus. The communists came. Read Lenin, Marx, Stalin. Joseph Stalin slaughtered hundreds of millions of people. They wanted to conquer the world. Not one of them embraced Jesus. Not one. I'm going through history, and I've given you 3. You say, a lot of murder, a lot of killing, we want to conquer the world, and there's no Jesus among us. None. Then this latest crop came. They're running jet aircraft into skyscrapers. They're dropping bombs at the feet of women and children. In a word, what are they known for, Tennessee? No doubt about it. Hate, murder. You say, they're like the Nazis. Yeah. They're like the Shintoists. Yeah. They're like the communists. Yeah. Not a single one of them acknowledge Jesus as the Son of God. Not one. Am I dreaming or am I seeing a pattern here? No Jesus, murder. And then there was a couple of them, and you know where they came from? The last ideology. It started in the United States of America. My generation, in the 60s. The 50s, they called them, they had little, the news media had pretty little words for them. Oh, those are the beatniks. Well, from the beatniks, they said, oh, those are those little hippie kids. They're the flower children. Yeah. Flower children, huh? What does the news media call that particular revolution? They call it the sexual revolution. It was just rich kids bored with living lives of restraint. So the hallmark of that bunch, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's the group that are all for the slaughter of 60 million fetuses while they're in their mother's womb. Tennessee, let me tell you something. If you're not safe in your mother's womb, where on this earth could you find safety, if not in the womb of your own mother? Well, they really weren't alive. They weren't viable. All you moms out there, I'd have a hard time convincing you that was not your child inside your womb. Wouldn't I, Mom? I mean, come on. Well, we can kill them up to 20 weeks, but after 20 weeks they're viable, then I'm not. So they're not alive at 19 weeks. That's right. But they are alive at 21 weeks. Yeah, that's when we. And what was the guy doing the other day in Philadelphia? Cutting the spinal cords of those children when they were on the table. 60 million? That's more than the Nazis, the Shintoists, the communists, and the Muslims have killed all together for us Americans. You say 60 million. And it's legal. Unless there is a change, Tennessee, the United States of America will fall. It will collapse unless there is a change. Now, most people try to change it from the top down. I understand. They argue back and forth. They say, well, you're a liberal, or you're conservative, or are you left-wing, or are you right-wing? We need to start framing the argument. You're either godly, and the Holy Spirit of God is in you because of your response to the gospel of Jesus, or you are ungodly. You're either in Jesus or you're outside Jesus. You see what I'm saying? It's a battleground. Here's the deal. There's not a person in here who has not violated the law. God's law. Two kinds of people on planet Earth. The ones in Jesus under a system of grace. There is provision for sin under grace. There is a sacrifice that's been offered for sin under grace. That's Jesus. He is the sacrifice. The other one is law. You keep it or you die. Now, if you're seated in the audience and you say, and I ask you, I said, you belong to Jesus? And you say, well, no, I think I'm going to take my chances without Jesus. My question to you is, what chance is that? Are you going 6 feet deep? Well, yeah. I just don't believe in God. If God is not there, and the first sentence of this book is not right, if it's wrong. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's a simple statement. If that's not correct, we're all going to die. The believers are going to die, and the atheists are going to die. And if there is no God, the atheists were correct. We're never going to be able to jump up and say, hey, there's nothing to it. Just live any way you want want to. There's nothing here. There's no God. There's no nothing. We're not going to be able to come back and say that. If he's not there, when we go into the grave, we are going to stay there forever and ever and ever. Our bodies are going to rot, and there's never any coming back, ever. So we all lose if that first sentence is not true. However, if in the beginning God really did make the heavens and the earth, I believe that. I'm accepting it by faith. And we get there, and there is God, and he is there. Whoa! The atheists are going to say, whoops, bad call. And I'm going to say, here's the deal, Tennessee. If you're an atheist and you're seated in the audience, you can't win. You're not going to win whether he's there or not. You lose, you lose. Not a chance. No hope. And all that's required of you is to love God and love your neighbor. That's too much to ask of you. So we all violate the law, and we all go 6 feet deep in the end. There's not a person in here who has ever kept the 10 commandments, just the top 10, 100% flawlessly perfect. Remember, under law, there is no provision for violations. You sin, you die. You're born from your mother, and guess what? You're in great shape. You're alive apart from law. You know why? You don't know what it says. It hasn't come to you yet. You're like, I don't know what stealing is. Nope. I don't know what immorality is. I'm this long, and I'm just out of my mother's womb. I'm thankful that those little children that were written in their mother's wombs. I turned 67 on the 24th of April. But in reality, I was 67 and 9 months old. Almost 68. Right? So everybody's almost a year older than they say they are. One violation, you come out of your mother's womb, you say, when did it start? When the commandment came. Some mature a little quicker than others, you say, but at some point, all of us, no age is given, at some point we all know what right and what wrong is, and we also know the consequences of it. We know in here, I know this is not right, but I know this doesn't belong to me, but even so we lie. I shouldn't lie, but one little white lie. I know I shouldn't perform this sex act, but I just can't help myself. I've got to have it out. And it goes on and on and on. Temper tantrum, fits of rage, drunkenness, drugs. We all fall short in sin. Right? Now, if you in Tennessee, if one of you raises your hand and said, well, I've never sinned, we just lied.